Hello and welcome to Nick V Uncensored. Today we've got David Stih, a aerospace engineer, and today we're going to be talking about flat Earth and the science behind that, and if NASA's been lying to us or not, or anything like that. David, thank you so much for joining me. How are you, and what have you been up to?
Good. Great to be here, Nicholas. Well, I haven't been on Mars lately. We haven't gotten there yet. I do do a bit of rock climbing on my spare time and a lot of problem solving, critical thinking, engineering.
No, that's really cool. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, we were just having a conversation about flat Earth just before we hit the record button. And it's really interesting because you've got some people that say the Earth is a globe, and then you've got some people that say the Earth is flat. Now, when I look at it, there's more reasons for me to believe. Now, I don't know what we live on, right? I have my theories, but there's more reasons to believe that we live on a flat plane than a globe, because I've never seen the curve. I've never felt the Earth spin. And if I take a drone and I hover it above the ground and I keep it above the ground for 10 minutes, it will stay in that location at the same time, at the same space. Now, if the Earth was spinning, why hasn't it moved?
Well, that's an easy one, Nicholas.
Okay.
If you're in an airplane, it's going, what, 300, 400 miles an hour?
Right.
How come you can get up once the pilot announces you're free to walk around the cabin and you kind of buckle seatbelts? Why is it you can get up and going literally 400 plus miles per hour, whatever your speed is, walk to the bathroom?
Yeah, but
Walk backwards to the bathroom.
you're inside the container. That's different. But
No, you're going. So speed is all. Here's the key thing: speed is all relative. So your relative speed to the airplane, like you said, container, but that's also part of the bigger container, the galaxy, which is also going. I'm just making this up now. I'm going to say, a million miles per hour. So your speed is relative to who's observing. If I was outside the galaxy, I might see the whole thing going real fast. So the speed is relative. And the key thing on the flat Earth part that Dave doesn't understand, because he likes to pick one, well, the Earth can't be round because otherwise a fighter pilot in a fighter airplane going, Mach 2 would have to go around the curve so fast he couldn't handle the G-force. That's different from force. So acceleration and force, nowhere in the formulas for force, F force equals mass time acceleration, is velocity, your speed. This is why the Concorde airplane, the Concorde literally went the speed of sound, but it was a luxury aircraft. It was even less dynamic than a normal commercial aircraft. I mean, you could have some champagne and put it on your table and it's going Mach 2, because once you get to a certain speed, there's no net force on you, then you can go supersonic and not have any of that affect you. Does that help you?
well, let me ask you this one then. How fast is the Earth spinning?
No, I don't know. But
Okay.
again, it's relative. So spinning relative to what? Turning this way, going around the sun.
No. Just day and night. Just that spin. Not spinning around the sun. Just spinning like that. So
Yeah.
night and day. That's one spin,
Well, it
right?
sounds like 24 hours it would be.
Exactly. And I think it's about 1,000 miles per hour. Okay.
But
From my
that's relative to the sun and the sunlight now. This relative time, 24 hours, the spinning, you're noticing it relative to the sunlight, right?
I'm not saying it's not relative. What I'm saying is, if the Earth is spinning 1,000 miles per hour, just for argument's sake, okay, and then the plane, you're traveling about 500 miles per hour with the plane, and you're going in one direction. Well, how about on the way back when you're going, with the spin of the Earth? Why?
What you're forgetting, Nicholas, is all this is pre-done. So whatever your initial thing is, it's set in motion. No matter if you go up in an airplane or walk around wherever, everything in that container, the way you put it, has those initial conditions. Those are fixed now. So everything new you do is relative new, but that you're still at the same time doing, as you say, spinning. You can't notice it because you're on the spinner, so to speak.
Yeah, but you not really, because the engines are going against gravity. That's why it's keeping the plane up, because the plane being in the air isn't natural for it to be in the air. It doesn't, it needs the engine to keep it up in the air and with a lot of force and power to go against gravity.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you explain that?
Well, I explain it with gravity. I recall something that Flat Earth Dave threw in there about this, but I want you to explain it in your words what you're speaking of. I don't recall Dave's.
No, of course.
Dave doesn't believe in gravity though, but give me some more on that.
Okay, so I don't know really what Dave believes.
I'll tell you what Dave believed. So Dave, it's along your line of thinking. He said an airplane coming into land would overshoot the runway if the Earth was round. He's like, the Earth has to be flat because the pilots have to calculate distance to the landing. And they're saying if the Earth was round, they would overshoot it and go out into space, is what he's saying. Is that what you're kind of thinking?
I see what you're saying, that we're inside of a container, but then again, the fact that we're inside a container, even in the sky, which is in part of the container, that's still a theory. That still hasn't been 100% proven. These are all.
Well, let's stick to. I understand what you're saying, and I go and it's open minded. Like, in fact, I almost did believe. I still wonder, maybe it would be under a big container. Why not? But let's keep it on, is the Earth round or flat? Because we can break it down to, is Earth round or flat? We can stay inside the container of this thinking and trying to not prove it, but talk about it. So versus the container, let's stick to the flat or round if you want to. I'm just saying it'd be more helpful, because the container theory, I mean, we could talk about that all day, but where does it get us? Yeah. Well, it says it flat or round. What's that?
Well, you got to ask why. I mean, it could be a psyop, but for me, the biggest giveaway is Admiral Byrd admitted that he went over Antarctica, saw more land, came back with all the information, and very shortly after he died. I don't know if it was the CIA or the I don't know which three-letter agency, but they created they created an Antarctic treaty, and all the countries agreed. Well, why can't you go to Antarctica? What's the big deal?
Yeah. I'll give you one. It's just and this is again, doesn't matter if the Earth is round or flat. What if the Earth is round and they just don't want you going there?
Why?
And maybe. Who knows? Maybe it's an alien spaceship base. I'm just making this up. Maybe there's a hole through the Earth like a donut, and that's alien activity. I don't know. But the thing about, like, again, it gets you stuck in I don't want to call it debate, but the discussion is, I agree it sounds fishy, but that doesn't mean with any kind of logical thought, how do you jump automatically to the Earth must be flat? Like, where in that discussion, how do you just jump to this flat? Like, we're talking about, I agree, you can't go to the Antarctica. It's kind of fishy. They say it's environmental related. I always, when the first narrative, never believe the first thing you're told. But how does that get you the Earth is flat? Like, I understand what you're saying, but that's not a logical conclusion.
So
the Earth
tell me
must
this:
be flat because of it.
Why is the Orion's Belt and North Star in the same location for thousands and thousands and thousands of years still today? Why are they in the same location? We're not moving. We're supposed to be spinning day and night, day and night. We're supposed to be going around the sun. And then the sun, we're supposed to, with the solar system going around, we're supposed to be moving as well. So
the whole thing, remember, the Orion's moving too. It's not fixed. None of this is fixed. We're all in the same contained same airplane. You're in your seat getting up, Orion's in its seat. Maybe she's sitting down, not moving.
Mm. So my theory is that, and even I'm not religious, but
Mm-hmm.
I see the Bible as as a history book. But it even says in there that the earth is fixed and immovable with a firmament. And I believe that the firmament projects dimensions into our atmosphere, which are the stars.
I lost you at the firmament. Do you mean like firm ground?
No, I mean the firmament around the earth. It's like,
Okay.
yeah, that's
Okay.
you know,
That's what
and
the Bible said.
yeah, and it says that there's waters above the firmament.
Okay.
Yeah, which is interesting, you know. But to
All right.
be
So we want
honest,
to switch this to a biblical discussion, and I'm not going to discount that that's not truth, but
no,
just
no,
so
I'm going everywhere. I want to go biblical. I want to go
okay.
science. I want to go what the CIA said. I want to go if there's a leak over here. I want to look at everything, you know, um,
Mm-hmm.
because I want to triangulate, everything from different areas. But when you look at, maybe the biblical scripture, and then you see what Admiral Byrd, came back with
And what is
extra
the
land.
biblical scripture again exactly? I know you don't have memorized, but
Let me see if
it
I let me
says,
see let me see if
oh,
I
that'd be great if you pull it up.
yeah. Let me see.
This is because again, to me, so I'm the thinker. I'm totally open-minded. I believed in all this stuff. And I still believe in some of it and some of it not. How do you ever really know? But it helps
It's
to
true.
break things down into words, exactly the words in the Bible, um, because you might miss something too, not to just be dismissal. There might be clues that you're overlooking until you break down the words. I had to do this with the bad guy, the bad guy in Venezuela. They call him a bad actor. I'm like, what is the
Yeah.
term? Who made up the term bad actor? Is he in a movie? Like, and immediately you don't know what you're actually talking about. So thus, if we can find I'm curious the exact, we could, maybe we'll see something we're both over missing, or anyhow, what it says word for word. I haven't heard the one there's water. I'm trying to get a picture of that. I think in pictures. Like if I can think the dome,
Yeah.
how, while you're looking for that, how is there water above the dome? Unless I'm in heaven in another universe, how is there water above the dome?
See, I don't really know, to be honest. I don't understand the water, to be honest, for me.
Hmm.
What I think is that the earth is just flat. That's how we perceive it. When we're on a plane, there's no curve. I've never seen a curve. I've seen people do experiments,
Mm-hmm.
independent experiments, where they shoot a camera right into the sky, much
Mm-hmm.
higher than a plane,
Mm-hmm.
and still the horizon meets your
Okay,
eye level.
I'll come back to that. But on your Bible, just to
Okay.
give you how open-minded I am, I'm just thinking with what I know.
Oh, I'm not religious, by the
What?
way, but yeah.
Okay. Well, some people are, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And it might be true. What if that was Mars when there was water on Mars?
Could be. It could be. It really could be.
Or
I
water in heaven? So what I'm getting at is when you take that biblical history verbatim, you are not aware of the context when they wrote it, things they knew, things you'd understand if you read it then. Um, Anywho, so what you're speaking of with the cameras, out of all the people that have argued with Flat Earth Dave, think he's I don't like to use the word idiot, but that's what they call him. You know this, right? They overlooked the one thing that started it all for Dave, and the one thing that they can't prove or disprove. You know what that is?
what is it?
That's what it's what you're speaking of. Why do things look flat? So why do they look flat? So let's stick with why do they look flat? So Dave's original, how he got into this, he went on a lake in Chicago, I think, went out a couple miles on a boat with the camera, and he could still see a building at the same height. The building didn't go down over the horizon. He could still see that building straight on miles away. So he's like, the earth has to be flat. And so he did this experiment with lasers to prove it, and it failed. However, the people who did the math and goes, well, see, Dave, it's refraction. The earth is round. The reason it looks straight is light bends and refracts, and that's why.
Mm.
Their math didn't work either. And the thing is, that's the most intelligent conversation to have instead of the Antarctica and the CIA. And it's not being had. And it's not my theory. I spent a lot of time. This is what you can ask ChatGPT. This is what I did. Chat, is Earth flat or round? Well, of course it's round. Does light bend? No. Chat will say no. I'm like, well, what happened to the theory of relativity? Oh, yes, light bends near black holes, gravity. I'm like, well, we have gravity on Earth. What if the Earth is round? This is just an idea, mind you, but no one's talking about it to explain why things look flat. What if things would look really weird to us if light didn't bend enough so that something in the distance, you have the Earth round, something as light as something over here, like some distance around the Earth. What if gravity didn't bend light as the light went around the Earth so that when you saw it, things looked flat? So I asked Chat this. I'm just trying to think this theory through. And it gives me all this math. And then it goes, well, it gives me all these, it's Einstein's theory of relativity is what we're speaking of, light bending, time and space, what a lot of your listeners are trying to grasp. And here's what's not being talked about in the flat Earth theory. The theory of relativity, light bending, because it does bend. So Chat said, yes, light does bend. This is a fact. It bends as it goes around the Earth, but not that much. And that, to me, is the conversation we should be having. Like, what does not that much mean? How do we know this? And they go, well, theory of relativity has been proven. I'm like, how? During eclipses, and like you speak of, the astronomy, the stars and stuff. I'm like, yes, but the theory of relativity is relative to an observer in that box, the container, the airplane. Has any scientist ever stepped outside the whole galaxy and looked at it? No. So all these theory of relativity experiments, it's still a theory. It's still experiments performed relative to your container. This is an awesome conversation, Nicholas. This is what we need to be talking about, because otherwise it's like, well, I see this, it looks flat. I see that, it looks flat. That's what Einstein did. And he came up with this way to gel classic physics with theoretical, but it's still theoretical.
I agree with you. And I'm not saying I believe it's flat and I know it's round and I'm not saying anything. I don't know. I'm still 50-50. Okay.
Oh, the passengers in the Concorde could actually see the curvature, by the way.
But then we don't know the people in the Concorde. We don't know if they were paid.
No, we don't. And we could say that all day long. I'm just throwing that in there for it's not as if only astronauts and only the CIA have been into space is what I'm getting at. There have been civilians who have been able to actually see the curvature, but you're right. Don't take someone else's word for it.
But even the World Health Organization and the World Economic Forum, their logos is a flat Earth logo.
Right, but let's get back to
the sun.
What it means. Like, why do people really care if the Earth? Why are we so
why they care
in it? Why do we care? Yeah.
The reason why we care is you want to if there is a lie, you're going to ask after why the lie. Okay, and I personally believe, right, and this is just my gut feeling, right, that the reason why they want us to believe we're on a spinning ball, and that we came from this big bang, is because they want us to believe that we're nothing, we're a bacteria, okay, and we just happened from nothing.
That's another conversation, and I'm love to have, because when you mentioned Big Bang, no, I totally agree. When you mentioned we evolved from bacteria, impossible. And thank you. That's what I'm getting at. This flat Earth is a distraction, as a matter of fact, to me, because it's not the bigger, what do we really want to know?
Well, I think there's other, even if the world is round, I think the reason why we can't go Antarctica is because there are other lands with other
Mhm.
civilizations, probably remnants of the Atlantean civilizations, who are outside, and we are quarantined within the Antarctica because I see it as a ring, and we're
Yeah.
inside it, and we are quarantined to for them to harvest emotional energy off us. And that's what I think. That's what I
Well,
think. So
you could be harvesting emotional energy with flat or round. I agree with you. Harvesting negative energy is definitely a big one. And they get that, by the way, with you being angry about being lied to, which
yeah,
is a hole you have to be careful not to drop into,
they
myself
could
included.
they could harvest energy flat or round, but my point is that I think there's other lands that
Hey, you know what? Um, we can solve this. We are being lied to. Whether the Earth is round or flat and Antarctica is hiding something or not,
yeah.
Antarctica is a mute point. We're being lied to about a lot of things, Antarctica or not.
It's true, yes, true. But
Yeah.
the ego of the human brain wants to make meaning of the lie and ask why.
A control, of
Yeah,
course. You
control.
know,
But
it's when your mother or your parents tell you something that's not true, but they're just wanting to get you to do what you want, and they know that's the only way to do it. I can't think of an example because I'm too old now, but uh, uh, forgotten. But you know, people do that. They do it in relationships. You know, honey, I'm going to be late. Well, it's because I was going to play basketball, not because I had to work. Whatever. You lie to people to because you don't want to tell them the truth, or you want to control them. Um, you know, buy some stock in my company. It's worth it. When really you're going bankrupt, you just need someone to buy stock in your company. So you lie to them. You lie. Yeah. It's human. Yeah. It's humans.
exactly. So
Yeah.
why would the globe theory why would that be the truth if they lied to us? Why would we
Well,
take the
so
narrative?
this is where it goes in it doesn't really help to talk about it that way because you don't know why they're lying and
Mm,
you don't even know if they're lying for fact. You just know you can't go to the Antarctica. So this is where logically with the flat earth, Dave, I'm like, tell me why more like the airplane idea. You think, you know, airplane or engine going backwards, forwards, forces, because we can talk about that. And if it turns out you're right, like with light bending, that's a fascinating one. We can talk about that more. But but if not, then it turns out that wasn't a good one. I'll give you one Dave lied about. This
okay.
is okay. So now, this, mind you, I did the show with Dave, and it took me months of on my own trying to solve this problem. He talks about where the Earth has to be flat because in World War II they used microwaves to communicate with the bombers. Have you seen that one?
No.
It's on. It's one of his. You know, this is why the Earth has to be flat. And he's like, you know, Daniel, the admirals knew the Earth was flat. The scientists said it can't be done, and the admirals like, you will do it. They were communicating with the bombers using these microwave towers to tell them when to drop the bombs. And he's like, Europe's way over here, Germany's way over here. The Earth curves too much. Unless the Earth was flat, the microwave towers wouldn't work. And if you go online and Google that, people are stuck trying to solve it and going, wow, the Earth, he's right. So this is where it's helpful for me to have a brother who's also an engineer, but not so, let's say, open-minded, but just like, seriously, Daniel, why are you wasting your time? Because I'm like, it's not a waste of time. I want to understand why people think that way because maybe they're right about some stuff. If I learn stuff. He yells at me, what frequency was Dave's microwaves operating at? To which I simply Googled it, and lo and behold, those were nowhere near microwaves. They were VHF, which means old school rabbit ears television radar frequencies, which can bend with Earth. What Dave did in his presentation, he took a picture of a microwave dish and he puts it on his slide when he's telling you this story, the Earth has to be flat. I think lie is a little strong because I think he's just ignorant. That's a little strong word too, but that's the only way. I mean, either he didn't know or he lied, and I think he just didn't understand. He took something out of context. Someone probably told him the story about the bombers and used the word microwave tower, not understanding it was radar, not microwave. he put that in his slide as a microwave dish, and now everybody's stuck on, wow, the Earth must be flat. Big piece of misinformation if you look at some of his stuff, which is why it's helpful again. What frequency? So, which is why it's more helpful to ask, what can we answer? Not to be closed-minded, just what can we talk about where we can actually talk about it and not just get stuck on ideas, theories.
Sure. Yeah. Again, I mean, the other theory is that it's not round and it's not flat. It's
Well, it can't be. I got mountains in my backyard. They're not flat mountains.
Wait a second. I'm saying that it could be because we live in a frequency field, right, of atoms. An atom is 99.9% light and space. So everything could just be a projection.
That's another conversation though, the idea, and I'm totally into it. We're not really here. It's a game, it's theoretical. And of course there's a lot of space between atoms. So, there are other universes, whatever, living inside them. But stepping outside, and again, the Earth is not completely round, of course. It has to be some kind of not perfect round. Even in the flat Earth idea, it can't be flat. There has to be some thickness.
Yeah.
So is it like a pencil instead of a globe? And Dave could never answer them. Okay, it has to have some thickness, another side of it, right? It can't be just a slice in space. Everything's got thickness. So how do you answer that one? Let's say you believed in the flat Earth. How would you answer that one?
Well, ask me the question. What do you mean?
So what do you mean by flat? Well, that would be flat or straight. What's on the other side of the flat Earth? The dome. What's on the other side of the dome? The bottom side of the dome.
I would say I don't know underneath, but outside of the dome, I would say that we're separated with water. There's water, like the ocean. And then when you go outside of Antarctica, there's more water. Mm-hmm. And then you come to another dome with its own terrain, with its own ice wall, with its own sun and its own land and civilization.
Okay.
And then there are other domes and other civilizations. And according to my research, as you go out, and you keep going out to other domes and other lands, the laws of physics shift as well. And so apparently, I don't know, this is just metaphysical.
One of Dave's arguments was water lays flat. Okay. But he's technically not accurate in that the Earth can be round. And if you take a level, like you're hanging a picture, at any given point, that water is level, flat with the bubble. Dave says that the Earth can't be round because you need a container to hold water. That's because he doesn't understand gravity pulls water down. The Earth can be round. And when you hit a cliff, land, water holds it in. In gravity, it just doesn't splosh off into space. Gravity's pulling it down and you hit the wall. Otherwise, he tends to think, I think like you're speaking, there has to be water, has to be flat. Water's flat. So the Earth has to be flat because he thinks water is flat. He can't grasp that you can have curvature on a globe and have water not just go off the planet, I guess. You need a container. Is that what you're speaking of?
Yeah. Well, I was speaking more of a flat plane, completely flat. But
okay. I got your picture. And then it would go out to infinity.
Yeah.
So I can get my head around that. I like to think in pictures. So there's my dome. And if I went past Antarctica and got outside my glass bubble, like in that movie with Jim Carrey, I'd go through the door. There's another bubble.
Okay.
And it goes on for infinity. Is what you're saying. There's no space.
Well, well, apparently, from what I've researched, is that from this esoteric research, I want to be clear, okay?
Mhm.
Because
Thank you. It's kind of you. Yeah.
yeah, um, um, as you go out, the field, the frequency field of existence or cosmic laws, they start to change. So you can't.
Now, who says that?
I can't. I have to look for it. I don't have it with me right now to pull up.
Okay.
But this is what
And what
a
do
while
they
back.
mean? They mean change.
Sorry.
What does it? So you're going towards Antarctica, and you're saying your frequencies change.
No, not the frequency. Cosmic laws. But I'm talking about after. So you've got the ice ring, and
Mm-hmm.
this is, say, let's call it Earth, right?
Okay.
And then you've got a dome.
Okay.
Okay. Well, imagine loads of these, but we're separated with water.
Like we're dome. You mean domes floating on the ocean, like Atlantis?
I
Like
don't know if
Atlantis
they're
is floating on.
floating or if they're fixed. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. But let's just pretend there are many, many domes and many, many of these that I just demonstrated.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're very far away. They've got their own suns, apparently. And
Uh-huh.
as you go further out, cosmic laws change. Maybe the gravity changes, and eventually physicality doesn't exist in there. If it kind of it changes, there's frequency barriers. Yeah, apparently. Okay, from us, and you can't get to the edge because the edge cannot be entered through time and space. It can only be entered through
It
resonance.
almost sounds like you're describing going to heaven
No,
and you can't leave Earth.
I think heaven is a metaphor of a state of being.
You're in a physical dense universe, and it sounds like you're saying there are gatekeepers keeping you from going to the esoteric, where you step out of your side of your body. You're more light being, whatever.
Okay.
Is my picturing it?
What do you mean the light being? What do you mean?
Well, along with your frequency idea, you said your frequencies change.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about.
Well, I will tell you, um, gravity is not constant. Do you understand that?
Well, it's not.
When you go
I know
to
it's still a
space,
theory.
it's not a theory. It's a way of describing a behavior. All of physics is just a way of describing what we observe.
But you could say that gravity doesn't exist. So what pulls it down is the law of density.
Gravity is, and so I'm an engineer. I've taken all this physics, theoretical physics.
Cool. I'm going to listen.
And by the way, the highest theoretical physics class is bunk, man. Just like don't learn a thing because they don't have a clue. But here's the one thing I learned that's pretty simple. Gravity, me and this cup, gravity's mass. So depending on the mass of this cup and my mass, I have a gravitational attraction to this cup in me. And the same thing with my picture frame. And my picture frame has an attraction towards the cup in me. Anything with a mass has a gravitational attraction force with another mass. It's that simple. So it's not constant. It depends on your mass. When we say gravity in terms of planet Earth, what that's doing is it's calculating the effect of the big chunk of Earth. And it's so big that we can call it constant, but it's just relative to us as little ants on planet Earth. That's the reason it's constant. We're so small relative to this big piece, it's a constant force. But it's literally, if you break it down into atoms, like you're saying, it's piece by piece. And it's not a, like, what word do you use? A fact or whatever. It's how do we see that behavior, that attraction? How do we model it? So physics is just like, well, I'm going to do some math. I'm going to put a constant here. And then if I use force and acceleration, everything works. But it's just a way to model that behavior. Nobody knows why. Nobody knows why. Why am I attracted to this cup? And why does the mass affect it? I'm telling you, that's all anybody can say. The why is beautiful mystery. Why? Same thing with electricity and magnetics. Nobody knows why magnetic field's created when you put current through a wire and have a magnet. It just is. And we have all these physics and equations, and we get electricity and we get Wi-Fi because of it. But nobody, even Einstein, can tell you why. Mm-hmm. It's just the way it is.
Have you watched Bob Lazar with Joe Rogan?
Is that a guest on a show?
Yeah, Bob Lazar. He worked for NASA actually, or is it Area 51? Okay. Yeah, he was headhunted, and I don't, I think you'll be really good because you're into this and you probably understand it much better than the average person because you're into science and physics. And
I'm lucky. I went through a heck of a lot of physics and engineering to grasp onto this one thing. And in school, I was failing because I couldn't understand it. And I tried until one day I'm like, oh, nobody really knows. No, they don't, Daniel. Just do it. That's the equation. That's why I'm like, but why does like the math? No, but just do it, man.
Yeah.
Because I was stuck on trying to rationalize. And you can't. It's just the way it is in our universe.
According to Bob Lazar, when he saw some stuff there that blew his mind away because there were elements there that he saw that had certain reactions that were not even on the periodic tables, on the periodic charts. They were missing. Mm-hmm. And when he would take that information to a physicist who's got a PhD, he would say it's impossible, scientifically impossible.
Well, hold the thought, but real quick, periodic table, viewers, listeners, it's never completed. There's always another element we haven't discovered or invented. Some of them are artificially invented. It's a work in progress, the list of elements. And it's only based on how many, protons or electrons or whatever, and it's up to such an amount, like how can we get another proton in here, electron? But if you could, you add new elements. So it's very conceivable he could have discovered an element that...
But he's talking about an aircraft that he was already working on. And it was very specific and very familiar with what they were working on, what they knew of. And he was wondering, why is it not on the periodic table? Easy,
man. This part's easy. It's capitalism. It's how can I make money off it?
Okay, so now we're getting somewhere. So I wanted to explain. So the gravity stuff that you say, why? I think we actually have the answers, but because of capitalism, because of the politics. Yes,
I will agree with you on that. It's why flying saucers don't need a jet engine to go supersonic and through wormholes, whatever. They're using a different technology because they know the rest of the story. I would agree with that.
I believe that they create a frequency field, and within this field, it's not subject to gravity, and that's why it can move. They can create a frequency. It's like piercing a bubble.
Well, the frequency word gets misused out of context, especially with the new age community and spiritual people. And I don't mean to be condescending that way. I just mean that you need a different word to describe what you're trying to describe, because frequency alone is just how fast or slow something energy moves. It doesn't mean it's good or bad or different. I know you're trying to describe with it. I just think frequency is not the best word.
Or maybe a bandwidth.
Well, it's something we don't have a word for because it's not shared information, right? They probably have a word for it instead of electromagnetic.
It could, let's just call it a field.
Okay.
A bubble. And it becomes exempt from scientific laws, from our physics.
Yeah.
And from there, if it's exempt from gravity and you can control within that field which direction you want it to move without effort, because there's no gravity, then that explains why there's no sound when we hit, when you see a UFO and it just goes shooting.
Right.
Maybe that's what they use.
Hmm. Yeah. No.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just
I
asking
don't know either.
questions.
But one thing I certainly I guess I can't say I know, but I'm 99%. It's my belief
Sure.
that the government captured crashed aircrafts. The aliens are working with the government, good and bad aliens. There's a bunch of players. There's complete other government to the world that we're not aware of. You know, absolutely positive. Which is why I think the conversation, not to say we're spinning our wheels here, but on the flat Earth, round Earth, it's we're there are better things. This is a discussion, that's more more productive, I think. How do we get our government to share everything? And then, unfortunately, I think even our government, like you call your senator, I don't think your senator knows.
No.
So,
No, you're
so,
right. They don't.
so even if your government's like, we don't know, guess what? They're not lying. Well, then who does know? That's how they keep us under control. And in the meantime, when we're arguing about is Earth flat or round, even if it is flat, um, they're off doing whatever they want to do. Forcing, taxes and increasing prices and making us work too hard for too little money, and not being able to put food on the table and being in debt with our student loans and everything else.
Mm. No, you're
Yeah,
absolutely. I think we can agree that we cannot say that we're 100% that the Earth is flat or that 100% that the Earth is a globe. I think there's a lot of question marks, and absolutely there's a lot of lies in a world full of
mm-hmm.
lies, and they're probably psyops as well. That
Psyops.
yeah, psyops. So it's a very very interesting. Yeah.
How could we? Um, how could we? This is a problem I've been thinking about for a while. Actually, figure out, not just talk about it, but like force it out into the open. The sub government, what do we call it? The real government of the world, the people running the
The deep
show,
state.
the deep state. Thank you. How? What's a productive way? Imagine everybody believes and knows. We don't even need to talk about. Everyone knows there's a deep state. How do we expose it?
The Epstein list. I don't know.
The other thing about the Epstein list, though, is you got to be careful about is misinformation again.
Hmm.
You think they're going to release everything? They're not.
Well, I'll tell you something. I actually,
They're going to lead you to what they want you to
Hmm.
see. And unless you stay focused on, I'm only seeing what they want me to see, what am I not seeing? You're going to miss, you're going to be funneled into the conclusion they want you to reach.
So I actually think that it's not going to be exposed by a group of people. There isn't going to be a messiah or a rescuer. I don't believe that. What I believe, and I don't want to go into, you can call it esoteric, metaphysical, consciousness, whatever. Let's call it truth. Okay. That's what I like to call it. Because then you can go really broad when you're speaking subjective truth and the reality. In my opinion, is if we're living in a hologram, which is made out of atoms, which is controlled by or powered by our consciousness, then when humanity awakens and they act from awareness, not from the hijacked mind, which is driven by the propaganda media and fear. So we act with compassion, truth, and love, and, with intentions. I think atoms start behaving differently around us, which is proven by scientists. And the hologram starts re-rendering itself, which is what's happening now. Especially since COVID, a lot of people have shifted. They don't trust the media. They don't trust a lot
Yeah,
of
but Nicholas, you can't just be aware. You have to quit being afraid.
for sure.
And a lot of people still, they get angry. They're angry about being lied
But
to,
this is what I mean about acting from awareness, not from the mind, because the mind
which
is
is
the
really
anger.
hard
Yeah.
because you know it now. You know who you are, but it's really tough to stay out of that program and be loving when I just got fired and I can't afford my rent and I'm gonna have to sleep in my car and the government is lying to me. As soon as you do that, you're just back in the wheel. You're part of the problem again. You're feeding them the bad energy. You're not escaping the matrix.
You are 100% right. I completely get it, but I do believe in the 100th month. Is it the
The
100th?
100th monkey, which is like if enough
Yeah.
of us start knowing it, we'll all know it. But all of us knowing it is still not enough because there are countries, communist countries, where all the people know they're under dictatorship.
The,
It doesn't change how
it,
their
it's
love, their
Yeah, the 100th monkey syndrome isn't just knowing it. It's a
hmm,
signal. It's a signal that has an effect on our awareness or awakening. Not believing, not knowing, but
hmm,
embodying. Yeah.
hmm,
And and I believe this has started, and this is why we're seeing the systems collapse very slowly. Gradually, we're seeing systems collapse. They seem very scripted. They're starting to even feel like background noise, you know? What do you think about that?
I'm kind of wondering, am I on a different planet? Because all I look around and I see is chaos and things getting worse with the economy and the politics.
I
Um,
do, I do. But listen, that might be when you see it getting worse, see it like it's getting exposed. It's always been worse.
you
It's
know,
always been terrible.
when 9/11 happened, I mean, literally when it happened, and we were having this conversation, except back then you really had to be careful about having this conversation when it happened. Someone told me that was a Christmas present. I'm like, what do you mean by Christmas present? Not the towers collapsing. As in lines of what you're speaking of, things collapsing. But I only see then we go to war, in Afghanistan and Iraq, whatnot. I understand what you're saying, Nicholas, but I'm not so optimistic about it being that simple. Is just because things collapse, something new comes in its place that to me is even at first seems better, but the people doing this still have bad intentions, is what I'm saying. It's two steps forward, one step back, or one step forward, two steps back, whatever the word is. And it doesn't matter if like as you say, you're awake, but you also have to not be afraid is the key. And I don't know how you can't be,
Yeah.
it's hard not to be afraid and angry and angry. Anger
It,
doesn't help.
it's true, but when you practice awareness, meaning presence and stillness, just 5 minutes a day,
Mm-hmm.
and you remind yourself that you're not the body, you're not the thought, you're not the story, you're the soul.
I love
You
that.
know,
I love that. I love what you're saying right now.
yeah,
That's good. Yeah. Yeah.
you're the silent witness
Mm-hmm.
before. Okay, so
Yeah.
so
Okay. Now having that, I hear about the flat earth and I think they're lying to me and I start to get pulled in the gutter. What do I do? What's your tip for?
what you do is this: we need to integrate and evolve. We have to become aware that we want to evolve. Number one. Number two, you would when you get angry, you have to say, you got to start learning to pause and say, I witnessed this anger arising, this emotion arising, but I'm not going to react to it because it's
Good.
not who I am.
Good.
But I'm not going to suppress it either or
Mhm.
react to it. I will just feel it in
It's
my
it's
body.
knowledge. It's good to know the earth is flat around. It's knowledge. Piece of cake. Pass it on. Uh, as you said, be aware, but your tip on how to diffuse, stay in your power as a being is good. I like it.
Yeah, thank you. No,
Yeah.
but I think it's a state of being that we have to learn to be, and I think it's a habit that we have
Hmm.
to learn to become, and
Yeah.
just act from awareness, from stillness, and just as a silent witness. And
Hmm.
when you remind yourself that you're not the body, you're not the story, you're not the, you're not.
Oh, to which when you said silent witness, what came to mind? It's Christmas, Thanksgiving. You're talking politics with your family, which is bound to go south.
Okay.
I'm just like, oh, who'd you vote for? Trump? Okay. Oh, who'd you vote for? Biden? Okay, whatever. I'm just witnessing. It's all big game. I found it really easy. It took me a long time to not get sucked into it. I'm like, okay, what do you think? What do you think? And people ask you what you think. I'm like, it's all is what it is. Big game. I'm still looking to try to figure out how the aliens can do that in their spaceships while you guys keep talking about whatever,
So my answer to that would be is anchoring yourself in presence and truth and awareness isn't always about being peaceful. It's being peaceful, but with truth, right? It's speaking your truth even when uncomfortable, but speaking it with compassion. And that's what I think. When truth meets truth, it dissolves illusions.
That's good. I like what that's actually really important because especially with the censorship, hats off to the journalist and the scientist who will speak up, lose their job maybe as a professor at a university for saying something, wrong politically, but Israel, Pakistan, or it's about the a virus or something. But from compassion and understanding is I've got to speak up, but I'm not going to get angry about how it falls out or the
Absolutely.
ramifications, the consequences.
When you hurt somebody with truth, it's because you shattered their illusions and their ideas, but you did not hurt them from betrayal, lying, manipulating, cheating, So for me, truth is important because, truth meets truth. It collapses illusions, and I think that you should never abandon yourself by not speaking your truth or suppressing it. So
as long as we're in this it's being helpful. What do I do? I speak my truth, and I'm thinking out loud now. I also want to actually influence somebody else's thought. I can't make them believe me. I think that's where the problem starts. I have to just leave it at that because they're going to want to come back with, "No, Daniel, the Earth is round." I'm done. Right?
Well, I think presence and awareness and the silent witness, as we call it, I think because it just is, it doesn't need to do anything. It doesn't need to fix or explain. It just is, and that's what I love about presence.
What I mean is, I have my presence, and I go, Nicholas, Earth is flat. Oh, let me do the round. I'll be the round guy. Nicholas, Earth is. Well, no, I'm going to pretend I'm the flat guy.
Okay.
The Earth is. I'm at Thanksgiving. I'm speaking to you. Did you know the Earth is flat? You can't go out to the Antarctica. And
oh wow.
And it's true. It's true.
Oh right. What are your reasons? Why do you think it's flat? You'd ask, and then you'd say, "Interesting. Well, I think this, or I think this. These are my reasons." But I wouldn't want to convince you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't want to change your mind. Do you know why? Because you've got free will, right? And I'm not. I'm not. My job is not to change anybody. It's not to rescue anybody or anything like that. My purpose is to awaken and find inner peace and truth. My truth. That's it. And that's really it. And be aligned. Love, compassion, and truth. Those three.
So that's what I do when I get the pushback. Like, that's a silly thought. Whatever you think. Instead of fighting that, I just go, well, this is what I think. What do you think? What do you think? And then that's it.
That's the best. I think that's great. I've noticed as well, when I speak to controversial people like my family, they're very quick to disagree with me. But the moment I explain to them, when I started explaining to them and letting them know this is what I think, without trying to change their minds or convince them, they stopped arguing with me.
And they're probably very curious. So, Nicholas, where have you been, man? How did you get that idea? Okay, well, we still think you're a little crazy, but
yeah. And you can think I'm crazy. You can think whatever. I think not caring or not needing to be understood. There you go. When you just are.
Not needing to be right.
Yeah. You don't need to be right. You don't need to fix or chase or expect or, nothing. And you just are right here, right now in this moment. And this moment is all that exists. And I think when we anchor into that presence and stillness and into that state of being, I think that's when we energetically shift. I think that's when atoms start behaving differently. I think that's when,
It's also real important. They're trying to divide us, make us argue amongst ourselves. That feeds the whole problem, the bad energy they're trying to harvest. The best thing we can do to solve the problem is stay peaceful with each other.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, to find your peace. I think our purpose is awakening and peace and presence and being whole and complete on your own, not doing things out of lack or fear, but doing it with
Mm-hmm.
abundance and an overflow. And I think
Yeah.
that's the state of being we need to be in. And unfortunately, with this world and the way it's been run, people are working from lack. People are loving from lack, or they think they're
So,
loving.
so I don't know how much time we have, another minute or two.
Sure,
Imagine like now we're all having this great conversation, and eventually my family agrees. I'm just making this up. The
sure.
Earth is flat. Do you think what will happen then? Do you think we'll just walk through the bubble to the Antarctica? What will happen next?
In what concept are you asking?
If we all stay in our state in peace and we all become aware, and we even discover the deep state, whatever the Antarctica is, whatever. What happens next? Like back to the Truman story with Jim Carrey. What's life look like?
It's interesting you say that. I think I mean you're going really esoteric. I mean I would go really esoteric here. But my where I would go is the when you are in that state of being, your resonance is at peak, or at least at the beginning of peak. And the point of that is to exit the matrix awake when you die, so that you bypass the false light system that's been hijacked, where they keep us reincarnating. Um, you know,
I've heard
re-
that theory. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
makes a lot of sense.
and yeah, and when you are
But why would
resonating,
you want to escape? You're speaking of death and escape. What about when you're still alive before you die? How's the planet look like then?
okay, so I believe that when you're resonating at a high state, that just your presence alone, without words and language, you are influencing other people's fields for them to wake up and anchor in presence, just being around you, because
Mm-hmm.
you're sending a signal, a frequency, or you
Well,
don't
that's
like the
like
word thing.
chakras in the light, and
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it. It's a fact. The different colors in the, you're either radiant white or you're darker color. But how would about back to the flat Earth, the bubble? What will happen?
I don't.
You think just hypothetically think.
I don't think it really matters. I think the reason, again, why it matters is because we have an ego to know why they lie to us, And again,
Mm-hmm.
we operate in the ego, and it's the mind, isn't it? Some of us want to know why the lie. Is there more information? Maybe we want to know who we are as humans. Who are we? As humans, why? Because I think the more truth we are given, the more we can understand who we are and where we come from. And I think that's the reason why they've distorted. We live in a world of distortions, so that we don't know who we are, so that we can
Mm-hmm.
feel lost and confused, because that's how you can control the world.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my
Yeah,
theory on it. Yeah.
yeah. I share a lot of those same thoughts too. Yeah. In fact, I even wonder if we had a previous civilization that was working perfectly good and they destroyed it just so they could rebuild it the way they have. Kind of like the Matrix, come to think of it. Yeah, you guys set yourself free once, and we had to destroy you, so we rebuild it and try to confuse you and separate you again, and see how we can keep you in captivity.
I mean, I actually think Atlantis was 12,000 years ago. In my opinion, I think they existed and they fell. They were manipulated very slowly over time by other beings, and we fell into 3D. The atoms
Mm-hmm.
became carbon. I think it is.
Oh, well, which reminds me of a theory I have that with the new satellites in space, and they have lasers. It's part of the weapons in space, right? And and we have a space force, a U.S. Space Force that operates them. What if it's to keep the good aliens away from the planet? Not to use it to attack China and Russia, whatever, but to Star Wars defense to keep something out there from coming and helping us.
I mean, maybe. I mean, I think that our technology is limited in comparison to theirs. I think
That's
I would
true.
imagine.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And I think that the moon is a satellite.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I interviewed, Howard Eisenhower's great granddaughter, Laura Eisenhower, and she told me the same, that the moon is a satellite.
Hollow, or more or less a satellite?
I mean, it could be hollow. There could be underground bunkers and things like that. It could ring a certain frequency that has a lot of control over our moods and emotions and loosh energy. Maybe it harvests the loosh through the moon. I don't know. But these are just things that are very interesting to ask. You know.
Yeah, the idea of the moon being a satellite's an interesting one. I've tried to find credible people to have the conversation with, because there are a lot of things that don't explain. I'll give you an example of a conversation that didn't go well. With my client partner, we're driving a long way, and I just go, "What can we talk about? Have you heard the one that the moon is fake?" My friend lost it. So he's a PhD. Yeah, the smarter you are, you can't. He's a PhD studying how life was created at the Scripps Institute in La Jolla, and he goes, "Daniel, I'm going to tell you, they modeled it. They modeled it when the moon and whatever collided. It went like this, and then it all came back together, and they modeled it, and then there was the moon." I'm like, "Are you kidding me, man? And you believed that?" I could make a computer program that could come up with anything if you give it. And he did, and was like, "Okay, let's talk about something else."
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's we just don't know, but I think we will know once. I think we will know once, we our consciousness expands. I think the truth is within us all.
Maybe, or being a little more practical. I think someday
I think we will see through the veil. I think presence thins the veil. That's what I think. I think if it affects atoms, then it definitely thins the veil. But it's been a very interesting conversation. I really enjoyed our conversation, Daniel. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers?
Thanks so much for helping me with the tips on how to stay grounded and more aware without being negative and angry all the time. That's perfect.
And thank you so much. Also, I really appreciate your take on everything. And it's been a pleasure, and I really enjoyed our chat. And I'll speak to you again soon. Okay, David?
Okay.
Daniel, sorry.
Yep, Daniel.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.